We loved him, and the way he played, full of heart. But we couldn't tolerate his erratic behavior any longer.
Who was the guy he got into a fight with?
A fiancé of mine at the time. He's dead now. Douglas. That silly little thing. He was always madly in love with us. He put that in his songs. And that's why we loved him. But he was jealous.
Jealousy is a terrible demon.
It is, Detective. It is.
There's no hope of letting him back in?
You pity him, right? I can understand that. It happened to us, too. We let him back, but he can't play or stay sober.
If we could help you with those two things, would you take him back?
Perhaps. But why would you do that? What did he promise you?
Nothing in the world. We're just trying to be good birds, that's all.
So the tales are true after all.
Well, we're talking to a living legend too, so tales can be true.
It's a deal, then. If you can find a cure for his hand and his heart, we'll welcome his return.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Okay. That's something. The power and devil in a blue dress motif makes part of my brain intrigued. The other part of my brain says, spider! Yeah, I know, right?
What can you tell us about the current state of the hive?
Did you come here with paper bags on your heads? Have you not seen with your eyes?
Well, we'd like to hear it in your words.
As you wish. Since the Segregation Act, our people are suffering more than ever. We are eating ourselves alive. You may think we're being figurative, but we couldn't be more literal. We're running out of flesh, of life, of soul. But before that happens, our patience will run out.
The Segregation Act wasn't good for business either, right?
Correct. We don't want to be seen as the selfless grande dame, or everyone's fairy godmother. No. We were running a thriving business.
You mean a thriving criminal business?
Call it what you like. It was blooming, but the blossom eventually withered. Now we are suffering like everyone else. The hive is an oil barrel, detectives, and Clawville a crazy old fool with a match in his hand.
Is the barrel gonna explode?
And with it, the old fool.
Well, thanks for your honest opinion.
Not mere opinion. This is our future, gentlemen.
Interesting. Interesting. All right.
That's quite a throne you've got there.
Why, thank you. It was our late grandmother's 200 years ago.
Whoa, wait, then how old are you?
Do you think it's appropriate to ask such a question of a lady?
For cluck's sake, Marty.
Oh, yeah, sorry. But it is a really beautiful chair.
You're funny. We like you.
Thank the gods.
Okay.
Are you ready to go a little deeper?
Oh, you mean you're going to interrogate us?
That's one way of putting it. I prefer to call it a controlled conversation.
Interesting. You seem like a rough, crude fellow at first glance. But underneath those ruffled feathers, you have a rather sophisticated soul.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Especially the ruffled feathers part.
Our pleasure. Well, shall we begin?
Oh,
I'd be delighted.
time for an interrogation. Sorry, questioning. All right. So there is there's a rating that you get at the end of each of these questionings. It's 1 of 5 stars. Or you can get up to 5 stars. Should we go for the 5-star rating or just take what we get the first time? Or try to go for like a minimum star rating? How do you guys... How does everyone want to try to play this? What does it mean to get more stars? I believe you get more information, more clues. Sharp wants all the clues. 5 stars. Or starts. Alright.
The Queen seems to like us, but that may be a simple disguise. In any case, a veteran criminal like her is probably harder to break than to open with the right honeyed words. Boost her ego. That can be a solid tactic. But either playing the good or the bad cop, nothing is impossible if you ask the right questions in the right tone.
Okay, so boost her ego. That can be a solid tack. So try to go with the honeyed version. Don't piss off the Queen. Okay, we could probably work with that.
Be forewarned, detective. What you learn here may shake everything you've ever believed in.
You think I believe in anything? It seems your famous senses have failed you.
We'll see, Mr. Featherland. We'll see.
Okay, so there's the meter at the bottom here. Kind of, this is where we're starting. We want to at least get into here, but we're going to go for 5 stars. So we'll definitely make it to this direction. Every question we ask will shift the meter in some way. So when we ask the question, we need to see what the reaction is, and if it's plus 10 or plus 20, that's probably the one that we want to stick with each time we go through this successively to get 5 stars. You catch more flies with honey, and spiders love flies. There you go. I thought it was more stars you get the more the police are chasing you. True. But if you are the police, what does that mean? Alright, so please tell us about yourself, Majesty. How did you become who you are? Do you really use the royal plural? Is this some kind of aristocratic fad? Or Miss Zaneta, may I call you that? Or should I stick with the Queen? I'm gonna guess the top one is the better reaction, so let's see.
Please tell us about yourself, Your Majesty. How did you become who you are?
You'd be surprised how little awareness there was in it. Things happened. Years flew by. And suddenly we found ourselves on this throne.
Lucky coincidences?
There are no coincidences, dear Inspector. We just did what we thought was right.
Right. We rarely hear that from the heads of criminal organizations, if I don't offend you.
What is right for someone, and in what situation, is subjective. We've lived our whole lives by a code of what we thought was right.
Isn't that convenient?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes the opposite.
Oh, that was plus 20. Well, that's a good one to stick with. Let's get to the point. Bodies are disappearing from the cemetery, and the clues have led us here. What do you think? Why?
Let's get to the point. Bodies are disappearing from the cemetery, and the clues have led us here. What do you think? Why?
You're not playing games. We appreciate that. Yes, in a way, we understand that some clues could have led you here. But those can be misleading. We know nothing about the missing bodies.
You don't know about them, or you have nothing to do with them. Big difference.
There is a big difference. We've heard things. The Great Web is everywhere. And every little bit of information makes its threads twitch. But no, we have nothing to do with them.
Okay. So she says they don't have any... So our current guess as to why bug corpses are being taken from the graveyard is that they're using it for meat, which is disturbing. So, let's see. A cemetery caretaker named Joe was knocked down. He barely made it out alive. You know anything about that? Someone almost died, and the perpetrator seemed to have come from here. How about that? Someone was hit with a bottle that had the name of this place on it. Is it a coincidence? Ooh, interesting. So, in this particular case, we're calling out Joe. She probably already knows about it, though. Let's see what happens. Let's go with this one.
A cemetery caretaker named Joe was knocked down. He barely made it out alive. You know anything about that?
Oh, we know the graveyard beetle. The old stubborn fool. But he's a good insect nonetheless. We won't hurt him if he doesn't cross us.
Has he ever done anything like that?
Not that we know of.
So you have no idea who could have attacked Uncle Joe and why?
Oh, we never said that. Merely that we didn't do it.
Oh, you're a smart player, Your Majesty.
Oh, thank you very much for the compliment. And if we may make a compliment too, we are glad that you care so deeply about the fate of a simple, old insect.
It's my job.
No. No. It is not.
Plus 15 on that one. So there may have been a better option, but that's a pretty good outcome. All right, so we got two options here. When we mentioned the name of the distant light to the injured Uncle Joe, he was scared to death. Why? Or, let's say I believe you. Do you think the glass was not just a weapon, but also a message? I feel like we know why he would be scared to death of this place. I mean, the Great Web has a reputation, right? A big reputation. So, I'm going to start with this one.
Let's say I believe you. Do you think the glass was not just a weapon, but also a message?
An interesting theory, and there may be some truth in it. As the place is well known and has been ours for decades, yes, we can see why you might think that.
So you agree that the clues lead logically here?
If it is a message, we did not send it. It would be foolish to leave a clue like that, unless it leads to a trap. Am I right?
Well, forgive the assumption, but for a spider queen sitting in the middle of the Great Web, setting a trap seems quite apt.
If so, you would be in big trouble.
And And? Is that the case?
No. Not yet. I like you. You're sharp and respectful, most of the time. At least, for a chicken.
You're great at insulting and complimenting at the same time.
Thank you.
Ooh, that one was +5. So if we circle back, if we go back through this again, we might try other option. Okay. Suppose I believe that it wasn't you. Why didn't you take action against it? Or, got a pile of missing bodies on a bloody trail leading here. What do you make of that? Alright. I'm gonna go with this one.
Suppose I believe that it wasn't you. Why didn't you take action against it?
You still think we're the feared and dreaded vigilantes of the Hive. Unfortunately, those days are over, Inspector. The Great Web is now more of an information center than a real, viable enterprise.
But information is power, ain't it?
Indeed, it is. But much more so for a place that is not cut off from every other part of the world. We've been enclosed, Mr. Featherland. So the world is slowly but surely passing us by. Unless...
Unless you do something about it.
Yes. But that's another story. You know, the people of the Hive don't need the Great Web to express their feelings. Especially their anger.
A hive-sized rebellion, for example.
Of course, neither the city nor the Crown wants that. In fact, we don't want it. But sadly, we are no longer the most powerful in the Hive. There are others who say how things are done.
That one was +20.
Okay, if it wasn't you, then who was it? Who has the reason and the power to do such a thing?
The Golden Fang clan is well entrenched in the Hive. Thanks in part to them, much of our business is no longer, how shall we say, profitable.
The clan, huh? I heard they've been pretty quiet lately.
The fact that a criminal organization doesn't openly blow things up doesn't mean they're not very present, as you well know, Mr. Featherland. And for all we know, you and your partner are very much responsible for the existence of the clan in the first place.
Really? Please, enlighten me.
If the Wessler Empire hadn't fallen, the smaller clans that then waged war for power would never have been born. Am I right?
The Wessler Empire, huh? That was an old case, Your Majesty. If we hadn't stopped that threat, we might have been in even bigger trouble.
Oh, you really think so? That it could be worse than this? The whole city was ravaged by gangs feuding over the remnants of the Wessler Empire. These gang wars have consumed all the attention of the Crown and the police, leaving nothing left for the Hive. One angry insect, fed up, committed an assassination attempt that eventually led to the Segregation Act. See, after all, it all started when the so-called Chicken Police put the head of the Wessler Empire on ice over some petty, little, private matter.
You know, that's kind of a loose and far-fetched hypothesis.
Oh, we haven't covered everything, but you know that in the big picture, we're perfectly right.
I'm beginning to feel like you're interrogating me and not the other way around.
Oh, please don't. We didn't mean to frighten you.
Then may I continue?
We are at your service.
So, it's the Golden Fang clan that's got you and your people in a tight spot. Am I right?
We're not saying they're responsible for the disappearances. But if it wasn't us, they seem the most likely choice.
I have to agree. Are you willing to talk about them?
To a certain extent, yes. As long as it doesn't harm our interests.
Okay, then let's continue the conversation in this vein.
Okay. There's a lot to digest there. So why would the clan need a fresh corpse? What can they do with it? Okay. Let's blame someone else, right? What would the clan do with dead bodies? What is the clan doing here, and why the hive? Let's go with this option.
Why would the clan need a fresh corpse? What can they do with it?
Did you say fresh? How fresh?
Well, the last one was from yesterday. Why? What do you think?
If they were old carcasses, we'd be ignoring it. But fresh meat is a different matter.
Did you say meat?
Have you seen how many insects walk around the hive, missing limbs?
We've had the misfortune to see that, yes.
The Clawvillian gourmets pay fat little fortunes for fresh body parts.
To eat them?
Well, they're not going to put them on display. That's for sure.
So you think the clan sells fresh body parts on the black market?
That could be one reason for digging up bodies. But it could be something else entirely.
Which is?
We don't know, Mr. Featherland. You're the detective, not us. But we're sure you'll get to the bottom of it.
Well, that was plus 20. Pretty good. Okay, so then why do I get the feeling you're getting wealthy off the greasy bits too? Or you really do see everything? What do you think the clan is playing for? Where do they get their resources? Yeah. I don't think accusing her is going to be helpful. Feels like that's what this one would be doing, so we'll go with a compliment. You see everything. Ask for opinion.
You really do see everything. What do you think the clan is playing for? And where do they get their resources?
For the clan, hiding in the hive was a great idea. But they cut themselves off from the rest of the city with it. So they must have connections or help from beyond the walls.
Another gang? Maybe they've teamed up with someone. The Black Scales. The Furies, maybe.
I don't think so, Mr. Featherland. All the criminal organizations in Clawville are different, but they all have one thing in common. They all want absolute power. That's why they don't really ally themselves with others.
What are you implying? Who can support them from beyond the walls?
Whose interest do you think it would be to
Police.
aid and abet the clan and get them here? Whose interest is it for the hive to slowly bleed itself dry?
The crown.
For someone who has a problem with the very existence of it.
You mean
Yes, exactly, Mr. Featherland.
sweet, furry, feathered heavens? You claim that the clan is funded by the crown?
We're not saying it is. But the city government is currently benefiting from the fact that the hive is getting on with its little infighting, instead of causing trouble on the big scale. You know, peace negotiations are coming.
Well, what does that have to do with the disappearance of a few bodies of ordinary citizens? Even if it's like you say, isn't that just more fuel for the fire?
It might be. Perhaps it's for a different purpose, Mr. Featherland. That detective, that private eye, who was working on this.
Private Eye?
Frank Castellini. Or, as many called him, half-armed Frank, which we always thought was funny, because he was only one arm short of four.
Shit. Frank.
The fool was obsessed with pursuing Mick and the clan. He discovered something significant. Maybe he found out exactly where they were hiding. In any case, it certainly pissed off the monkey. Because Mick's got a big bounty on poor Frank's head.
That's bad. That's really bad. Well, thank you for telling me this.
We're surprised to say it ourselves, but we're glad we could help.
You see?
Oh,
That's
shit.
what I'm talking about.
First try! Awesome. That was amazing. It's not easy to soften or break a real queen, but this time the good cop routine won the day. The disappearance of the bodies is most likely the work of the Golden Fang clan, and Frank may be in more trouble than we thought.
So Frank Castellini, right? We know him. In fact, I'd say we're friends.
We thought cops didn't like private eyes.
Frank's helped us out with a lot in the past. And in return, we'd turn a blind eye when he snooped where he shouldn't have.
There was a time when cooperation between animals and insects was commonplace.
I was just a chick then, Your Majesty. But my partner lived in the hive's neighborhood for quite some time.
Oh, really?
It used to be a great neighborhood, man.
If this was meant to make us sympathize with you and your cause, you've succeeded. You see, we're old and sentimental, but we're something else, too.
Beautiful.
Thank you. But that's not what we meant.
Good one, Marty.
We're practical, which means if you really want our help, you'll have to do something for us in return.
Seems like a fair offer. We're listening.
Frank was never a friend, nor an enemy. He's the kind of man who doesn't belong to either side. Always walking in the shades between them. But not so long ago, we had a quarrel. And he's taken something from us that's very dear to our hearts.
You want us to bring back this something?
Bring it back? No, we don't want it back. You won't be able to do that. Just tell us where it is. We'll take care of the rest.
You're being deliberately vague, am I right?
Sometimes it's best if you know exactly what you need to know. If you get the information we want, you can guarantee the Great Web will be on your side when you clash with the Golden Fang clan.
When, not if.
We have no doubt that if you follow the trail your friend Frank has set out on, it will eventually lead you to the clan's trap.
Okay, you got a deal. We'll meet again soon.
I look forward to it, detectives. But I'd hurry if I were you. Your friend Frank could be in serious trouble.
Furry hell. Frank. What has he got himself into?
Exactly what we're about to get ourselves into, partner. If you're ready.
What do you mean, ready? I'm always ready. In fact, I was born ready.
I don't mean that. I just mean, what's going on with you and Laura? There's enough shit going on. I don't want to stir up any more.
Cluck that. It's what you do best, Boss Bird. And let's keep it that way, okay? You drive, I follow, we get shot at, we survive, but just barely, and most importantly, we don't talk about personal shit. Deal?
You know, buddy, that's the best deal I ever heard.
Now you're talking.
Wait, who's this guy? Filmar? Brutus? What's happening here? Okay, so Moses and Plato's secret mission. Still need to figure out what that's all about. Need to figure out what's up with Monica.